All right, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, and there have been questions coming through some of the latest breakdown videos that I've been posting, all the little snippets from Patreon, so I thought I would do some answers to those questions, or hopefully provide some insight, because in the breakdown videos, I'm speaking quite quickly, and I'm going over some high-level points, and sometimes that might be lost on YouTube audiences. So just for those that maybe aren't Patreon supporters, who are interested in getting answers to the questions, I thought I would go through the comments and look. And we're going to start with one that was probably the biggest, which was this comment that I made on a recent breakdown about having the sun in the frame and how that limits your options of what you can do. And so that's what we're going to be doing today. So if you have any questions about any of the breakdowns, although I don't respond to most of the things in the comment section, just leave them there and I might answer them in the future, because this might be a fun way just to mix up the content. Okay, so let's jump in. I'm just going to look at this still. This is from Rocket Man. And I mentioned in the breakdown that anytime the sun is inside of the frame, you're limited with what you can do. And what I mean by that is that it doesn't matter how much, I mean, yes, you can take this sun and you can over here have a bounce, or, I mean, you can light it up too, but you can have a bounce over here and you can get some level back on their faces. Number one, it's incredibly limiting the angle because of the way that this, if I come in here, let's go full screen. Is that going to work first time? It does. Okay, it's limiting because normally, see that fence in the background? Normally you would want to wrap the sun around, right? We talk about this all the time. You don't want to just smush level back at them, because then what you have is a sun sandwich. You've got hitting backlight in the back of their hair. Okay, that's a nice look. But then when you have sun coming this way, it's hard to get the balance down. And you might be thinking, well, it's not that hard to get the balance down. You just look at it and you sort of massage it into place. Yeah, do that while there's 40 people standing around on set waiting for you to find just the right level. Right? This is like a common misconception when you're learning cinematography, or you're just doing it on your own. You're going out at sunset, you're getting beautiful shots, and you're like, this is easy. Like, how hard is it to be able to do this stuff when the pressure is on? The answer is it's really difficult, because you can't just like wave a magic wand and have everyone on set, even though you're technically the boss and you're giving direction to the entire crew to be able to make these images come to life. They don't just like jump and make things happen. It doesn't just, happen at the snap of a finger. You have to have all of this stuff planned out. Everyone has to be aware of it. The equipment has to be ready, because if you don't have the bounce ready and you think like, well, okay, well, 5 minutes to build a bounce, that's not that much, but that's 5 minutes of a crew like frantically running around, building frames, getting it all together while the sun is going down after an 8-hour day where the director has hated every single take and personalities are clashing. Like, this is not a picture of the least rosy environment that you could possibly have on set, and that will happen to you eventually. And then you'll say, you know what, maybe we do need a bounce over here, guys. And everyone looks at you like they hate you, because they do, because you didn't tell them that ahead of time. And they know it's going to look terrible anyway, right? Because the sun is in the frame and you can't do much. So what do I mean when I say that? I say what we would normally do if the sun is out of the frame, right? You set your exposure. Again, I'm just saying it the way that I would do it. I would set my exposure off of what I can't control. What can't I control is the level in the sky. Because when they're walking, okay, I can't even really control it with an electric bounce, right? I'm not going to put a light over here daytime. That's just not the kind of stuff that I work on, where you're going to have some blasting level in here. Number one, it's hard to balance that. Number two, that's probably expensive. And number three, there's lots of ways that I can screw that up. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to make things more complicated for myself. So the only thing I'm going to do in this situation, I'm going to bounce level back in. If I'm going to bounce during a walk and talk, I'm going to want to bounce from over there, from up here, right? Which is going to do nothing for this gentleman, right? The orientation that these two are looking when they're walking and talking isn't ideal anyway. You want people looking forward, right? And you want to be on a slightly tighter lens to make this have any impact of making it look any better. So I want to bounce from over here. I want to bring level this way and this way. Now, what am I going to do that with? You're going to do that with a little 4x poly, right? This is what you're imagining in your head. Like, oh, quick, just grab the 4x poly and we can just walk next to him. What is that person going to do that's holding the 4x poly? They're going to take it and they're going to put it like this underneath the person's nose. And it's going to be bouncing up. And you're going to be on the headset like, Bob, what are you doing? It looks like complete ass, right? You're just like filling in underneath their chin. And like, okay, well, I can fix that. I can just tell Bob to bring it from above. A 4x frame competing with the sun? What else are you going to do? Oh, well, we'll just neg down this whole path. At just a spur of the moment neg? That's not going to happen. You have to like put this up hours in advance. You have to know all this stuff hours in advance. So when the sun is above here, I can set my level to what I can't control. What I can't control is the sky, right? Because that's where all of the level is coming from, and I can do nothing to the sky except set my exposure to it. And what do I mean when I say that? I say, okay, I can look at the camera, I use the iris on the lens, and I go, ooh, I like the sky at this particular level, right? Let's say it's a 5.6, but I know I want to be shooting wide open. And I'm talking T-stops here. I know I want to be shooting wide open for the look, okay? And let's say wide open is T2. So now I know that the sky needs to be 5.6, so you go 4, 2.8, it's going to be 3 over, right? Or I need 3 stops away from 5.6 to be able to get wherever it is that I like this level versus what's going to be in the foreground, right? That's how I set my level. I want it to be at 5.6, okay? I go wide open, then I set it to T2, and I put the ND in, the relative ND in. Okay, now I've got my base. This is what it's going to be. Now, how do I affect the image? There's only one effect that I can do in this particular scenario, which is bring level from, well, I mean, I could bring it from over here. That's going to look even worse. I'm going to bring it from over here. Now, I can only bring so much level, right? You can only return so much, especially in like a foresty, wooded area like this. Like, you're only going to be able to get so much return. And as you crank down on the iris or on the level, if you're using NDs, right, which you should be using NDs at this point, you only use the iris so that you can have speed in the initial setup. As you're using NDs to bring this down, down, and down, what's coming down is the overall ambient, the amount of light that is hitting the sensor. So we cannot do anything about the ambient in this scenario. 0. You're setting the ambient with the ND. Right? That's how it's working. And then you're lighting with the bounce. So you almost have to work backwards, right? You have to set what you can't control, and then you have to bring in the level that you can control, which is not much, okay? So that's why when the sun is in the frame, the discrepancy between the two, what you can bounce back and what's actually in the frame, is so high that you're not going to be able to overcome that like you normally would if it was out here, right? So you're going to have a much harder time setting to the mood that you want. That doesn't mean you can't get anything. Yeah, of course you can put a bounce over here. But what you're going to get is just flat blur. Like, it's not going to look very shapely. Now, maybe you don't want it to look shapely, and that's a win for you, but you have to know these things ahead of time. Okay, so if it's here, now the sky is going to be much less bright. Like, let's say, I don't know, obviously the sun itself is going to clip, right? But if you look at something like the Revenant, right, where they just have the little dot around the sun, or sorry, the sun itself not clipping, or clipping, and then just around is not clipping. You know how much ND you have to have in the camera for that to be the case? Like, it's going to be completely black here. Not black, but it's going to be pretty dark. And then you're going to bring in your 4x poly, and you're going to be able to light up this guy's face and this guy's. Like, it's going to look horrendous. If you don't believe me, just go out there and do it. Significantly easier because we can set the level much higher if the sun is out of the frame, right? And if we want like a blue sky here, we can just set that to, you set it to 2.5 stops over, and then now we can get a little bit closer. We can get a little bit more control because the ambient is so much higher. There's so much more light hitting the sensor because we're not restricting it, trying to keep more of the sky, right? Because as soon as you have the sun in there, around here is what we're trying to keep. And I mean, we're not keeping it in this scenario, but that's what you're trying to go for. So that's why when the sun is not in the frame, now there's lots of times where you want the sun in the frame, right? If you're going to go some silhouette or some something very contrasty like that, okay, the sun is in the frame. But if we're doing a Pantene commercial, when we're doing a Colgate commercial, like you have to commit to this look because there's no solution. And this is always where you don't want to be. You don't want to be in a situation on set where the director's like, do we have another option besides this look? And you're like, there is no other option for this look. It's like, hurry up because the sun's going to go down and then it's going to be dark. And you don't want it dark because it's a daytime commercial or it's a daytime scene or whatever it is. Like, the option here is just wait for the sun to go down if you get here. And usually on set, like maybe with your friends, that's an okay response. But if you're on set with a producer who's paying money for everybody to sit around while you're just like, I don't feel the light. Good luck getting employed again, right? Good luck getting through that day because there's going to be a lot of unhappy people. And eventually you're just going to have to go and it's going to end up looking, the sky is going to end up looking like this. Now, does this look bad? You be the judge. I don't know. But I mean, I would have rather come in here, or I would have rather come when it was down here, and be able to, I like to manipulate things, right? I just don't want to be at the whim of whatever is offered up. That would be like making a documentary, which is cool. It's just not the kind of look that I'm going for. So that's why I say when the sun is in the frame, you have significantly less tools at your disposal. Yes, you can do certain things, but you're never going to be able to get that crafted look that we're chasing, or that I'm chasing, and that I always talk about. So if you look at the images that I make, which again, people that outside of this YouTube channel, I do a whole podcast where I talk about my own work. Maybe I'm gonna have to start bringing that onto YouTube, but that's what got me in trouble in the first place the last time I tried to do that, because a lot of the brands, and fair enough, the people don't like me sharing this kind of stuff, which is understandable. But that is the idea, okay? So sun is in the frame, really hard, because you set your level of exposure when you're outside to what you can control, which is the sky. Hopefully that helps. If you've got more questions on any of the breakdowns, or you want to see more of the breakdowns, that's over on the Wandering DP Patreon. I appreciate the support, and yeah, hopefully we'll do more of these Q&A sort of comment response videos in the future.